welcome back. Today we are working towards identifying pairs of perpendicular and parallel lines. We've already looked at these, but we're just going to look at them in a little bit more depth and in different contexts, just to improve your with them. So to do that, we shall need to understand what is meant by parallel, to understand what is meant by perpendicular, and to apply this knowledge in a variety of contexts. You will need, for this lesson, a straight edge, something to write with and something to write on. Now your straight edge ideally would be a ruler, but if you've not got one of those, any number of things have a straight edge that can be used to draw a straight line. So if you have a hardback book that people at home don't mind you getting pencil on, that's an option. You could use the lid of a box if you have a box lying around, or the wrapper, the cardboard wrapper that your toothpaste tube comes in, anything like that. Boxes are excellent. Just hold the box down and you can use a pencil or writing implement alongside that to make a straight line. So I'm going to give you a few moments to find those items. So pause this video and you may resume it when you have gathered everything that you need. Welcome back. I hope that you have found everything you need. So we'll start off with a warm-up. And I'm going to read through the questions and give you a chance to answer those on whatever piece of paper that you have before I discuss the answers. And these relate to yesterday's lesson. So if you have not done yesterday's lesson, I would suggest you do that first. So if I start facing north on my compass, which is the N up here, and I turn so that I am now facing south, which is down here. So I go from here to here and I turn around here. How many quarter turns have I made? And what is another way to describe this turn? Your second question would like you to draw different stickmen with 2 arms and 2 legs, as this stickman is here. And it wants you to work out how many different ways you can do this where the arms and legs are differently sized angles, and it wants you to label which angles are less than a right angle and which angles are greater than a right angle. Just write on how many there are. So it says, for example, if you might say, oh, there are 2 angles less than a right angle and 2 angles greater than a right angle. I cannot take credit for this stickman. Sadly, I did not draw him. He is a magnificent creation though, isn't he, with his interestingly jointed body. I don't tend to add joints to my stick for people's arms. This chap looks like he's scratching his head whilst conducting an orchestra and having a bit of a jig as well. But you draw as many of those as you like. I would say at least 3, and tell me how many angles on them are greater than a right angle and how many are less than a right angle. Resume this video when you have finished the warm-up and we will look at the answers. So I presume you have finished that. If I were facing north and I turned to face south, I would have turned 1, 2 quarter turns. Simple enough, and hopefully most of you got that. The second half of the question though is, what is another way to describe this turn? So I've gone 2 quarters of the way round. And it is 2 quarters. If you imagine this circle divided into 4, 2 of the quarters have been gone round. However, 2 quarters is the same as a half. So you could also say I've made a half turn because I've made a 2 quarter turn. Down here, I cannot obviously look at your individual stickmen because that's beyond my limited powers, but I can show you what I would do if this were my stickman. So here is my stickman. I have a little angle here, a little angle here, variety of angles. Look, there's an angle, there's another angle, there's another angle, there's another angle. I've got another angle here. Look, I've got another angle down here, one over here, one over here. So we need to count how many of them are less than a right angle and how many are greater than a right angle. So we've got this one's less than a right angle, this one's less than a right angle. This one's less than a right angle and this one's less than a right angle, so that's 4. This one's less than a right angle, so that's 5. So I would say there were 5 less than a right angle. Lost my pen. 5 less than a right angle. And how many greater than a right angle? Well, you've got 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5 greater than a right angle. So hopefully you'll have done something similar with your stick people. And let's briefly revisit what parallel means. So parallel lines are lines that are the same distance apart at all times. They do not get any closer to each other and they will never touch. Train tracks are a great example of parallel lines. They do not touch, they remain the same distance apart because the wheels of the train have to fit on them. They are parallel lines. Perpendicular lines are simply lines that meet at a right angle, or would meet at a right angle, or 2 right angles I should say. So one here and one there, you can see here. These perpendicular lines intersect, creating my right angles here. And a real life example of these is basically wherever you see a cross shape, that's perpendicular lines. Corners are technically also perpendicular lines because they meet at a 90-degree angle as well. So, a task you might come across: draw a line that is perpendicular to this one, so the blue one, and one that's parallel to that one, so the orange one. So you will need to use your straight edge that you found earlier and draw yourself 2 lines. Similar to these lines, they don't have to be exact, but in a sort of similar orientation. And I would like you to, once you've drawn them, draw another one on this line to make a pair of perpendicular lines, and another one on this line to make a pair of parallel lines. Pause the video while you do that. When you've finished, resume it. Welcome back. Now I don't have a straight edge on PowerPoint, so mine's going to be wonky. Yours should be a lot straighter because you will have used your straight edge. But perpendicular intersects at right angles, so it should jut straight out from the middle, sort of like that. Not exact, but I should have 2 right angles, 2 of my book edge corners here. Now on this one we want a parallel line, so it should run alongside, shouldn't get any closer at any point or any further away. These aren't quite parallel because it looks to me like they're closer here than they are over here, but I don't have a ruler. I only have a tiny little touchpad on my mouse, so you're just going to have to bear with me, I'm afraid. Now, this is a question that has a number of answers, and there is no wrong answer provided that you can justify why you have said what you have said. Explain which is different to the others. So you've got A, B, and C there, and the question implies that one of these is different to the other 2. You have to explain why, and there are a variety of acceptable answers for this, which I'm not going to go through. What I would like you to do is, at the end of this session, I would like you to send your answer to this question to your class teacher using DB Primary, or indeed using Purple Mash if you can, and I would be interested to see the range of responses. Again, I'm going to let you pause the video when you've made your answer and justify it as well. Don't just say, oh, A is different and then leave it at that. You have to explain to me why, ideally using mathematical vocabulary and the words parallel and perpendicular. When you're ready to resume, just resume the video. Okay, next question. Always, sometimes, or never. When two straight lines cross, 4 right angles will be made. So the statement here is that if two straight lines cross, if two straight lines intersect, 4 right angles will be made. Is that always true? Is that sometimes true? Or is that never true? Always, sometimes, or never. And again, you need to justify your answer, and hopefully you would use drawings to help you with that. I'm going to let you pause the video, resume it when you're ready for me to tell you the answer to that. Welcome back. So two straight lines, they can make 4 right angles. If we look at these lines, if the lines cross like this, they will always make 4 right angles. However, it doesn't tell you, the question doesn't tell you exactly how they are crossing. So it could be crossing like that. And if it crosses like that, you get 2 acute angles, 2 angles less than a right angle, and 2 angles more than a right angle. So it's not never true, because sometimes they do make 2 right angles. It's not always true, because sometimes they don't make any right angles at all. Sometimes it is true. This is a true or false question. I don't know why there's a question mark at the end of it. Let's just get rid of that. Perpendicular lines have to touch. Is this true or false? Pause it, have a think, write down what you think, and when you're ready, resume the video. Okay, so perpendicular lines are lines that would intersect at a right angle. However, even if they don't actually intersect like these 2 lines, they are still at a right angle to each other. So you would say that is false. Lines do not actually have to touch to be perpendicular. Your task that I would like you to be working on today is have a look around your house. If you're going out for a walk today, have a look outside and find some real life examples of parallel and perpendicular lines. Make a list of all the places that you see these parallel lines. So I want a table with examples of parallel lines on one and examples of perpendicular lines on another. When you've got your list, type it up into DB Primary or indeed Purple Mash and submit it to your teacher. And that's all you have to do for our math session today, in addition to your answer to this question. So finally, let's check our composites. Do we understand what is meant by parallel? We should do. 2 lines that are the same distance apart along their entire length and do not touch and will never touch. Understand what is meant by perpendicular. 2 lines that are at right angles to each other. And apply this knowledge in a variety of contexts, which you hopefully have done. Thank you very much for your time. Have a wonderful day.